So the Miami Dolphins have some interest in Ndamukong Suh, as my man Omar Kelly reported. Ndamukong Suh is a guy who can change a game, who can change a team. Does it make sense for the Dolphins to spend that kind of money on him? Is Ndamukong Suh worth perhaps a $100 million contract with 52 million guaranteed? I say that he is. Omar?
You know what? I understand the appeal to Ndamukong Suh just from the standpoint he is probably a top 5 defensive player in the NFL. Right. He's probably going to be a perennial Pro Bowler continuing if he stays healthy. Right. He hasn't never had any injury histories. Yep. Is he arguably worth $15 to $16 million a year? Absolutely. Yeah. No question about it. But it makes me a little bit queasy. You know,
that's a Joe
Philbin reference. That to give a guy $50 million, you're giving him more power than your head coach. You're giving him more power than your GM. Yep. You're giving him more power than your Dolphins executive, Mike Tannenbaum. Yeah. And you don't know this guy.
Oh, now, wait. We do know this guy. He's been to 4 Pro Bowls. He's stomped people in the face. We know this guy.
He's been suspended once. He's had 3 violations for conduct detrimental to the league.
Okay, but here's the thing, this guy...
He's not known as a leader.
That's fine. I don't need him to lead. I need him to get out there and terrorize the other offense. That's what I need. I need him to wreak havoc in the run game, wreak havoc in the passing game, and make the players around him better. Make Cam Wake better, make Brent Grimes better, make Koamisi better, Donnell Ellerbe, who probably won't be here, but I'll throw that in. But, you know, you got to. He's a guy who can make these guys better. He has more impact on the game than probably anybody on that roster right now, Ryan Tannehill included.
When I was asking around about Ndamukong Suh, somebody smart told me, look at his defense that he's played with the Lions, and who's on that defense? Right. You know, Ziggy Ansah is probably their best player outside of Ndamukong Suh. But they had statistically a top 5 defense, and the reason why is Ndamukong Suh, and he makes everybody better around him. So I will say, I can understand the Dave Hyde rationale of this, where you pay whatever it takes to get a legendary Reggie White type player and add him onto your team. If he's there in free agency, you don't have to give up draft picks, you don't have to give up, you know, a ridiculous amount of money, which you will have to give up a ridiculous amount of money. You see if you can make it happen. And it explains why Steve Ross continues, as he always does, to swing for the fences and pursue Ndamukong Suh. It makes a lot of sense for the Dolphins. However, I will say this. I would rather, if you're going to spend $53 million in guaranteed money, because we all know that the guaranteed money is the only thing that counts in the NFL. I would rather you disperse it and spend it on 3 good players. Dan Williams from Arizona State nose tackle. David Harris, inside linebacker for the Jets. Antrel Rolle, free safety for the Giants. 3 good players who I know will make your defense better, and maybe you can get them for $40 million guaranteed, as opposed to spending all 52 on one player who you don't know might end up on IR next year.
Hey, if he does, you're screwed. But look, here's the thing, for the Joe Philbin era, we'll say, the previous 3 years, you've been counting on these piecemeal players, the good player, the Dan Williamses of the world,
the Randy Starks.
The Randy Starks.
2-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, well, okay, but Reggie Bush and Brandon Marshall, it hasn't gotten you anywhere. It's gotten you 8-8 and 7-9. I understand spreading the wealth and trying to be equal. I'm talking about now going for elite players. You add Ndamukong Suh, you have an elite defensive tackle, you have an elite defensive end in Cam Wake, an elite cornerback, Brent Grimes, an elite left tackle, Brandon Albert, you have an elite center in Mike Pouncey. You have more elite players on that team than you've ever had. That's what makes the NFL go round, is the elite players. Now,
what makes the NFL go round is the damn quarterback.
Well, okay.
Yeah, no elite there, right?
You're right. And that is a problem. But as far as Ndamukong Suh, again, you have an elite player, and you put him with other elite players, Mike Wallace with elite speed. I won't say that he's an elite receiver, but if he's around, he's, you have players who do what they do among the best, 5, 6, 7, 10 players in the NFL. That counts for a lot. So I say collect the elite talent and leave it to the coaches to best utilize that talent.
And just go cheap on everything else. Okay, I understand. All right, I understand your rationale.
That's the reality.
Now, let me ask you this question. When you're talking about committing $100 million in guaranteed money to one player, I mean, you're giving Ndamukong Suh, if it happens, quarterback money.
Right.
Is that a healthy practice for Steve Ross?
It is and it isn't. It is because it allows you to get those elite players, and Ndamukong Suh, Mike Wallace, 5 years, 60, Brandon Albert, 5 years, 47. It allows you to get those elite players, but it's because you probably failed in your draft before, right?
You overspent. Yeah, you bid it big.
And you have to do it because you're probably trying to cover up another deficiency, which, could be in the draft. Or could
the
be
fact that your roster aged.
Yeah, you got aged out or whatever. You're probably trying to cover something up. It's not a smart building procedure for the future. Ideally you're plugging gaps. You're filling holes. You need a man eater inside. You get Ndamukong Suh. You need a speed receiver to complement Jarvis Landry and Charles Clay. You go to Mike Wallace. Ideally, now that hasn't been how it has been for the Dolphins, but it's not a smart way to go about it. But when you're a player away from a playoff berth or a player away from a Super Bowl, you don't think, wait, hold up.